welcome to Halloween Senate. Yay. Awesome. All right, approval of minutes. Everybody should have access to the drive. Sorry, the minutes folder on the drive. Any objections to the minutes? Anything anybody thinks should have been changed in the minutes? Seeing none, minutes are approved. Yay. Committee reports. Arnie, Anna.
We'll be working on the handbook soon. Also, sorry for the thing I did. That's it. You'll find out.
Any questions? Dusty?
What's the thing you did?
You'll find out.
Questions? Comments? Okay. Student government communications, Corey?
Pretty much no new updates right now. We're still looking to work on the overview video of the Senate. Pretty much all the updates of what's going on right now with the Senate. I got an email from the 2017 Vice President about getting access to Twitter. Having the passwords for that for Senate Twitter. So that's what I'll do. But that's about it right now.
Academic affairs, Varun.
So we did a couple things during our committee meeting. So we actually started doing work on one new project, which is the Poly project, in which we wanted to help give the people on the e-board of the Poly credits for what they do. So we emailed Professor Lee about that, and then she got back to us saying that we can get done as an independent study, and I'll use like a moderator for that. In terms of other projects, for the career fair project, which we talked about last week, which involves changing the date of Columbus to the career fair, we started benchmarking on other institutions. That was like one of the big things that we needed to get done for that. So that should get done next week, and then we're gonna start contacting people. So we contacted people about that. We also talked about the cheating project. So we emailed the faculty senate, and we're not on the itinerary for the faculty senate, which is meeting November 31st. It's not going to meet next week because of they're continuing for a funeral. So yeah, November 16th. If anyone's interested, they're going to meet for the core curriculum from 8 to 10 in JRL. Now we also started working on the student survey questions, which is what CJ is doing. We're working on the student survey questions for academic affairs, and we're going to hopefully get some data on cheating. Hopefully, yeah, I think that's about it.
Yes. Any questions for Varun on the AAC report? Also, since I have to mention this at some point in time during this meeting, otherwise it immediately becomes voided, Varun's the new independent senator. You don't get to vote on this appointment since it's not stated in the bylaws that it's approved, since it's just appointed the same way any other appointments are for empty seats. So, if you feel like I'm wrong, you can go check the bylaws.
Oh yeah, okay.
All right, UAR. Can anybody speak about UAR since Tommy's not here? Well, or Marvin.
I'm on UAR. We didn't have a meeting. He was on in an interview.
Facilities and services, Austin.
We're still working on pretty much the same stuff. I had a meeting with Ernie Katzwinkle, who's head of facilities, about water bottle filling stations. So this week we're going to be going around taking pictures of where we want the 5 or 6 new ones and sending them to him, and then hopefully those will be out soon.
All right. Do you also want to touch on the light walk stuff?
Yeah, the light walk got moved back to the 14th, and hopefully this is the final time it gets moved. Jerry Matthews, who's the head of public safety, couldn't make it next week, so we had to push it back 2 weeks. So we'll be having it then. Sorry, it's going to be really cold out, but hopefully we can get it done quickly. And then facilities and public safety are going to be sending representatives to go with us, which they haven't done in the past. That's going to be pretty cool.
Okay. Got any questions for Austin? All right, HSAC, Austin, Joe.
I think that's me. Oh, it's Austin must take it.
No, I don't have to.
So we met with HSAC met with Hospitality Services and Sodexo last Friday to review some results of a survey we put out the week prior. It turns out that the Create Your Own Meal Plan may be popular with sophomores, so we're thinking about bringing that into the full meal plan recommendations that are coming soon. HS is also considering maybe a low-cost commuter plan for sophomores and juniors, but that's still wrinkles to be ironed out a little bit later. So we used to meet with HS at 2:30 as well as we would have our regular meetings on Fridays at 2:30 as well. That is no longer the case. We will be meeting at another time to be determined. Any questions? From Jenna, if anyone is interested or you have friends that are interested, let us know ASAP. Any questions? Stay hungry, my friends.
All right, so if you're interested in HSAC, email Jenna at FreedJ2, which is FREDJ2, to just let her know you're interested. So when they're setting up times to have the meetings, she'll be able to have your input in that so you can make it. It's a really important committee since, as you guys probably know from personal experience, a lot of people wish things would be changed about dining halls and or meal plans. So we should try to have more than like 2 people on this committee, please. So yeah, contact Jenna if you'd like to be involved in that. Student life, Justin.
So first off, the pharmacy subcommittee has been refocused to be pharmacy and residence life, since the pharmacy project and the residence life project both are coming and going at intervals. So at the pharmacy side, they're pretty much all done with outlining possible locations. We're now, a lot of benchmarking done. Now we're just waiting on meeting with Dr. Ross and Claude Rounds. On the res life side, a draft of the survey questions are 85% complete, and we're almost ready to send them off to RSA. On the study spaces side, we have the letter before you guys today. We're also working on a bigger proposal for how we could incorporate more study spaces into the 87th gym. On the student rights and policy side, it's now been broken up into 2 sub-projects, I guess. I don't really know how that's going to work out, but in terms of naming wise, but there's 2 groups working on, one working on alcohol policy review and one working on summer arch housing. The alcohol policy review side is working on a model for spam alternatives. They're going to work on reaching out to previous directors of spam. They're already in contact with them for logistics and data, as well as IFC. Summer arch housing, they're working on preliminary benchmarking and analyzing that benchmark data, and now they're just waiting on the group housing survey done by the AFC meeting to be completed. We have our monthly meeting with Dr. Ross tomorrow. Marvin's going to tag along with me for that. Because the AGC meeting with Rounds is now scheduled for, I believe, a week from Wednesday, either a week from Wednesday or 2 weeks from Wednesday. I have to check the date. We're still waiting on preferred names. Emailed to the registrar, she said that there's still about 8% worth of work left to be completed, but didn't elaborate on what the 8% is. So still waiting on that. Hopefully we'll follow up with her later this week. I believe that's it. Any questions?
For perspective, since this wasn't explained to anybody earlier, part of the reason why spam was disbanded by the Institute was the fact that as the students who are spam monitors are paid by the school, they are then Institute employees, and all Institute employees are as part of working for the Institute. If they see something that's a potential Title IX investigation or anything that's a potential violation of law, they have to report it. Like, no questions asked, they have to report it or start an investigation about it. And you can see how this have to report it with that type of situation happening at a party where anybody knows who the 2 or 3 spam monitors at the party are, could place those students in a very difficult position if they see something happening and don't want everybody to know they're the person who pointed it out. So we recently found out this was at least part of the reason that decision was made, which it would have been nice if we were involved in that discussion, or anybody was involved in that discussion, but that's neither here nor there. Any questions for Justin?
I actually have two more things, sorry. First off, there's a new Dean of Students as of today, or interim Dean of Students as of today. It's now Kathy Shellog. It was Carrie Drescher, but Carrie Drescher is now Dean of Res Life, which is now known as Dean of Office of Living and Learning, Student Living and Learning. And she's now, Kathy Shellog's now AVP and Dean of Students. That transition happened as of today. So Paul and I are going to be meeting with them at some point to be discussing the potentially planned changes to the handbook. Dr. Ross mentioned at the Alumni Intergroup Council meeting this weekend that if and when they do make changes, they will definitely come before Senate for vote, which is fantastic to hear. I was approached by Jeff Miner, who's one of the assistant vice presidents of .cio, to talk about a policy related to technology. And since we have a rights and policy thing, that may end up falling into them. We'll see. So, keep the post on that. And that's about it. That's actually it. Sorry.
Any questions for Justin?
Why am I so handsome?
Anyways, what tech, Sid?
So the counseling center survey went live on Friday, and then later that afternoon, the questions got changed a bit, and I also need to make a few more fixes and last minute changes before I'm comfortable publicizing where to take the survey. Hopefully tomorrow it will be all set to go, or tonight. So that also means that because the survey is like authenticated yet anonymous, if any other committee needs to gather information from people with RCS IDs, but that information should not be linked to the RCS IDs, let WebTech know because we can do that now really easily. And we also sent out emails about the discontinuation of my RPI hosting and disabled signups, and put a note on the website, and we're working on making an archive of all the data there. That's it for WebTech.
Good. Any questions? All right, well, in a running trend that happens sometimes, I forgot to put your name down, but CRC, Leo.
Alright, just an update from last week. The Russell Sage mixer could be seen as a success since RPI students actually showed up. For future improvements, I guess maybe RPI could host it just because it was weird that they didn't know what they were doing. Yeah, so that's maybe a future project. Ongoing projects, we're doing postering for the farmers market, and what we're trying to do is just establish a certain format that can be recognizable by people walking around like, oh, like, that's a farmers market poster. And when I try to change it for like seasonal things, so like Halloween came up, maybe now we're gonna try to do Thanksgiving and then Christmas and Easter and all that stuff. And for new projects, we are trying to do a lupus walk for raising awareness. We're trying to get that joined with Russell Sage, and what we're working on right now is establishing the route that we should do around campus. And yeah, that's all for this week. Any questions?
All right. Yeah, Brew and Pam, thanks for coming on that adventure with me to the mixer. Either of you want to comment on it?
Should I go first or Pam?
You can go first.
It was not too good. I mean, the main problem with the mixer was like, it's kind of like a high school party basically.
Middle school dance.
Yeah.
No, like in a gym with a long series of plastic tables set up with snacks on them. It was too dark for anybody to see anything.
But were they
It was too
full
loud for anybody to hear anything.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, wait, Evan, you're there too.
I was trying to forget about that.
So it seems like a good opportunity, just logistics and planning and stuff and the stereotypical engineering side of making stuff better seem to be missing.
Yeah.
Because they don't have
Like where things
those.
are located.
Well, yeah, we'll see where that goes in the future. All right. ad hoc committee, CJ?
So I was supposed to meet with Paul today, but neither one of us made that happen. We're gonna make that happen tonight, and then you'll all be receiving an email from me either tonight or tomorrow morning. So, end report.
Okay, EPR, I swear I'll actually send that open call out this week. Constituent reports, keyboard.
I was in the town.
And or.
We did bystander intervention, there wasn't a meeting. No.
Yeah, the board did bystander intervention training. We're probably gonna do that too at some point in time.
A lot, an hour and a half for that.
What if we've already done it in the past year?
Then I'll probably, when it gets scheduled, say, if you've done this, email me.
All right, solid.
Josh,
What is that training exactly?
Excuse me?
what is bystander intervention?
Bystander intervention training is literally just, it's training about making you aware of certain situations that you're going to encounter in college and how to face them. As far as sexual assault and violence goes, like see something, say something. It goes all the way from hazing up to drug abuse. It really helps people like get a grasp on how to handle situations like that in the context. That's about it.
All right, any questions for the keyboarders? All right, grad council.
We didn't have a meeting, but we had a town hall last Tuesday. Good turnout, surprisingly. Got some good feedback. Answered some important questions and got some good ideas for some new initiatives. We have a graduate council meeting tomorrow, and that's it.
Any questions for the graduate council? All right, IFC, Morgan.
We're going to go through our election cycle this week. Starting this week, we'll be taking nominations. Essentially, all of the IFC e-board is going up for election except Greek Senator. Elections this week and voting and speeches next week. In terms of recent suspensions, Phi Kappa Tau has been suspended due to alcohol policy violation.
It sucks.
It's currently Greek Week. It's going to be happening till the 4th. The event for Wednesday, the mandatory event for all houses, has been canceled. The Greek Day of Service has been canceled, and Letters for Letters is every Friday, and we'll try to make that happen again.
What did you say in the first part of your report? I didn't catch it.
Elections, IFC elections, e-board elections.
All right, any questions for Marvin? Handheld, Hannah?
Okay, so a couple events. Sigma Delta's Nuestra Belleza is the 11th at 6:30 p.m. You should go and support their diversity and loveliness in Panhandle. AGD is having a food stand with Deeks on the 1st, the 15th, and the 29th of technically next month, so like starting tomorrow. Greek Hockey Night is the 19th. Also, our elections are happening soon. Samantha Bliss isn't sure what she wants to do yet in regards to Greek Senator, though. Whether she wants it to be a part of this election, assign it like while she's still on term, or assign it afterwards. I let her know her options, so I'll let you guys know what she decides as soon as possible. So yeah, that's it.
All right, any questions for Hannah? All right, special orders is empty. We don't have any unfinished business. I should have turned the projector on earlier. Can somebody pull down the Serenity screen for the projector? Since we'll need it for the most sorry about that.
Just I updated the drawing.
Okay.
So you can just use your
I just remembered to write the motion.
Oh, perfect. You're definitely on top of it.
My mommy says I'm special.
Who the hell is that?
I'm right here.
I don't know what that implies. That part of the joke before. Wait, was it Halloween?
Okay. So I believe in the email that I sent out, you all got the study spaces letter, the formal learning spaces letter, which is what we're going to be discussing. Nancy is going to be a presenter for this, and we have a motion which will be up on the screen soon, which reads, the Rensselaer Union 47th Student Senate resolves to approve the informal learning spaces letter as presented by the Student Life Committee. So moved by the Student Life Committee, presented by Nancy Bush.
Without the word hereby, which I have.
You have to amend it now.
No, it's fine, leave it.
So Nancy, as the presenter, do you want to talk about the letter?
Yeah, sure. So I'm the lead of Study Spaces in SLC, which is basically, class of 2020 was the largest class to come into RPI. I'm pretty sure my class right after it was like the second biggest. So there's a lot more kids here, and the campus isn't really that ready for it. So a lot of students were worried about like the library always being full. And then also the union, they're not really quiet anymore. There's so many people, you can't really find a place to study. So we're looking for more informal learning spaces, as Dr. Ross likes to call them. So last year, FSC tried to put tables and chairs in the great hall of the DCC, where like, I know probably all of you have seen like kids sitting on the floor all up and down that hallway, and it's really uncomfortable. There's like a vent behind it. It's like not very good to sit at, and there's only like 3 tables by the cafe. So we were trying to put tables all up and down there. Last year, I'm pretty sure they had like money for the tables and not the chairs or something silly like that. So it didn't work. So we thought since the McNeil room just was renovated, there's a bunch of tables and chairs in storage. I believe there's approximately like 8 tables and all the chairs left over from that. So we were thinking that we can just refurbish those if they're not using them and put them there. Also, Sage Dining Hall just got new tables, so that's another option. Or if administration likes the idea, they can just buy tables and chairs. But just so that kids have like another place to go. Dr. Ross liked it so much that he actually asked us to find other places. So we also mentioned some place in the JEC. I don't really go there, but a bunch of kids in the committee said that there are a lot of couches, so we can maybe put tables and chairs where those are, so it goes from like just a relaxing space to actually a relaxing and studying environment. And then also in Sage, in the entryway, where there's like that giant space right when you walk in, like in between classes, kids are always just standing around waiting. It's like a giant mess. So you're thinking maybe if we put some tables and chairs, it would be a little more organized and people can actually do work. So those are the 3 places outlined in the letter, and let's just kind of talk about that.
All right, so the letter's kind of too long for me to fit the entire text up on the screen.
Oh, it's up there.
But are we supposed to like discuss the letter first, then discuss the motion? Or like discuss the presentation and motion?
Just discuss the motion.
All right, so we're now discussing the motion, which, wait for it. Boo, sorry it's not in the template. That's the motion. All right, so Justin.
So just some quick background info. Dr. Ross, when I met with Dr. Ross back in October, so just about a month ago as of tomorrow, he had mentioned, when I mentioned that the Study Spaces was working on finding places at the 87 gym, he was really happy to hear that. And he had mentioned that Student Life has a budget for capital-related changes, so capital meaning physical changes on campus. So even though it's technically related to facilities, it's addressed to Dr. Ross because he had wanted to hear student feedback on where it would be a good idea for him to propose changes in the facilities, like in the Student Life budget for facilities. So we did send a draft to both Dr. Ross and Claude Rounds, planning on discussing it with Dr. Ross tomorrow and Claude Rounds in about a week's time.
My only concern is a logistical one, and I don't know if it's necessarily appropriate for just the letter, but it might be something to think about going forward, is if this goes through, how will putting these tables in place affect the flow of foot traffic through the areas that they're going to be in. For example, in the DCC Great Hall, in the last 10 minutes of the hour is generally when classes end, and there's going to be a lot of people coming back and forth. The extra space is taken up by these tables. Will people be able to get through as efficiently?
Since we're discussing the motion, can I still answer? Yeah. Okay. So I think the one thing that we were discussing is like there's already a lot of kids there. So like they have their backpacks out, like their feet are out. So there's already a lot of space being taken up. So we weren't thinking like, you know, like giant, huge tables, just like the ones from the McNeil rooms, like the little square ones or something like that. And I think that maybe like, yeah, there would still be something there, but it would just be a little more organized than a bunch of kids sitting in like a giant circle studying and like doing stuff like that. They'll actually be at a table. So.
Thank you.
Yeah, have you guys done any like data to prove that like this is actually like, I mean, to prove it's like actually a problem? Because I know when I was reading the letter, it seemed like more like conjecture, like, okay, I've seen lots of students in the DCC. But to me, like, I haven't found any problems finding places to study in the library, union. And I mean, I'm just kind of curious, has there been like a survey done or something like that? Yeah.
Yeah, so you want to yield to me?
Yeah.
This was not actually based off of data, as Vern said, but that was intended. The reason for that is because this was prompted by Dr. Ross as if he were to add more spaces, where would be the first place to look? So there are administrators that are interested in adding more informal learning spaces. They wanted student feedback as to where, and this is based off of primarily student feedback. So he didn't ask us to benchmark or find logistical information as to what would be done or how. The intent of the letter was more so to find locations, and then also as a gesture of willingness to work together, and also means mention a few of ideas of how we as students in the student government could assist in making these a reality, given that the administration does want to move forward with it. So that's why it's not a proposal or a report, it's just a letter, basically just saying this is the feedback that we obtained.
And this is also a project that the Board of Trustees Student Life Committee were very interested in and supported of when I mentioned it during my presentation to them a few weeks ago.
So like you guys mentioned a couple locations, and I was just going to give some more suggestions for other ones that I know.
Give me a second, 12 minutes. Okay, go.
Aren't heavily used. So there's a lot of space in the 87 gym during the school
That's
day.
our big proposal that we're doing.
Yeah, and I know because I go in there sometimes to like pick up indoor soccer, and that's the only thing I've ever seen go on there. And then another big thing that's a huge pain in the butt is when you try and use the DCC at night. So like a lot of groups meet there because they usually use a projector. They lock the doors, and it can be a pain getting in. So like keeping those doors unlocked at night will be really convenient. I don't know what you have to do with like those sleeping in there then, but like it's kind of a pain to get in. And I know like when you're in like group like projects for like that have multiple people in the group like to practice in, it's hard to get a room in the library. So that's generally the best place because it's not heavily used, but the doors are always locked. So even just opening up, not even just the DCC, but say like the JEC, so the hub stays open, and all those buildings, that'd be really helpful.
Yeah.
So like
one thing that.
yeah, so just I don't know, bring that up to him and see if he's open to that idea.
One thing that we did before working on this was we made like posters and stuff to raise awareness of the places that are available that students just may not know about. So one of the things we did was like also mothers. That door is always open. Kids just don't know it, and if there's no one in there, you can use that for group projects and stuff. So we're gonna put up signs about stuff like that.
I think the e-boarders are doing something like that.
Yeah. So like we are gonna do some of that stuff, just like raising awareness of like keeping things open and doing stuff like that, so that more kids can use that. And then our proposal that we're working on now is on the 80s image team.
All right.
We're definitely trying to utilize that too.
Making sure we cover both bases.
Okay, so just to add on to that really quick, the 87 gym was partially, what?
You might be answering my question.
Okay, so the 87 gym, so there's a big portion of the building that is underused as their office space that's not being, there's no people in those offices right now. So that's a part of it, as well as, I don't know if, Paul, the thing that you had mentioned to me about Dr. Jackson said, Right. So Dr. Jackson had spoken about at the Board of Trustees meeting about the possibility of actually converting parts of the 87 gym into a full-fledged union space. So for clubs, etc. That's a lot further down the road, but it was just something interesting to note. Also the 87 gym proposal, Rasika Hallecker, who is the BizOps chair for the union, sits on the subcommittee, and BizOps committee is also going to be working on it since the 87 gym is a union managed space. So it's important that the BizOps committee is working on it. On the thing related to the DCC, I'd probably defer to Austin, because Austin's facilities chair, and that is a lot more of a facilities related question, but it's good, definitely important to note too. I don't know if I answered your question.
You did.
Okay.
I was going to ask where exactly in the 87 gym.
Yeah. The empty office space. Sorry for the back.
Any more?
So just kind of a clarifying question then. So this, to be clear, this letter is really just suggestion to Dr. Ross where the best place to put the tables to be other than the 87 gym, because that's being worked on in a separate sort of way. Okay, so if he signs off on this, we can expect them tables to appear in the DCC in the coming semester or something, or what's the?
We can't really expect anything.
Okay.
It's not, so we're not saying, Dr. Ross, we want you to put tables and chairs in these places. Or it's not saying that we're expecting you to. We're saying that, he had asked where students would want more study space to be, and we're giving them a list of locations that would be good if they were to do it.
Any more comments, questions? Just
since we're talking about the location, and as you pointed out that if you have a lot of chairs and tables on the third floor of DCC, it might impede how the students walk through that area. It might be worth looking into the second floor of the DCC, where the traffic is a lot less, and it has the same width of almost the same width of the outer bay, so it might be worth looking into that area next to board.
What about like the CCPD that night? Like if they would be willing to, if they lock their offices and like have open space, there's a bunch of tables. That's another.
Yeah.
Comments, questions, discussion points. All right, so I'm done with the sentence. We're moving to voting procedure. But when we're voting, can you guys please straight elbows, hands at the ceiling? I can't see that in those heads. All right, so if you would like to vote for the motion, which is on the screen, please raise your hands now. All right, put your hands down now. If you would like to abstain, please raise your hand now. If you would like to abstain, please raise your hand now. Passes 2201. Yay. All right, do we have any more new business? Joe?
Hi, so the e-board has cordially invited us to attend their Safe Zone training in the month of November. For those who are, yeah, Tommy, they sent that to me, not to you apparently.
Dude, I don't know what's going on anymore.
Well, guess what? You got a Safe Zone training in November. So for those who aren't aware, the Safe Zone program is designed to provide support for and raise awareness of the LGBTQA community and to train peers to become allies to that community. Now, I've just rediscovered that this training is actually November 14th from 6 to 8:30, which, in case you weren't aware, was our light walk. So that's going to be a little interesting. But for those who are not Safe Zone trained, it is a really good experience and good opportunity if Paul would be so kind as to let you go. And Joe talk.
Okay. Any comments about that? Right. Is there any more new business?
Yes, so
Dan. But I'm calling him, but.
So I would like to discuss some budget reallocations, and I would request to have a closed meeting with the exception of some certain contingency, like as in other student government leaders that Paul had mentioned.
So I see that we have members of the executive board and the undergraduate council here, so we do I have a motion to close the meeting with the exception of members of the undergraduate council and the executive board?
Motion to that.
Is there a second?
Second.
What do you mean?
So it's a 2/3 vote to close the Senate, and it's a majority vote to have people stay who aren't senators.
Okay, so we're going to have two different votes. All right, so is there discussion or just? Okay. So we'll now move into voting procedure on voting whether or not to close the Senate meeting. This vote requires 2/3 approval. If you would like to vote to close the meeting, please raise your hand now.
Hold on, inquiry. There's no discussion on this motion?
Correct. All right, lower your hands out. Votes against. Abstentions. Motion passes 17-4-3. All right, so since the meeting is closed, we'll now have to, because it's closed, we just have to close it. We have to have them step out have everybody step out and turn off the video camera and get out of the room before we can vote on whether or not to allow